You know that feeling when you're sitting in the same room as someone you used to be so close to, and yet it feels like there's an ocean between you? You're not fighting, you're not screaming, you're just quiet. And somehow that silence is louder than any argument you've ever had. That silence has a weight to it. It presses down on your chest. It follows you to bed at night. And when you wake up in the morning, it's still there, waiting. If that's where you are right now, I need you to stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you over the next few minutes could genuinely change the trajectory of your most important relationship. But before we go any further, I have to be honest with you. This is not for everyone. If you're looking for a quick fix, a magic phrase, some 3-word script that makes everything okay overnight, this probably isn't for you. But if you're someone who actually feels the weight of what's been lost, and you're willing to do the real work, there is something linked in the description below that has helped thousands of people rebuild what they thought was gone forever. Not many people take that step. Most people stay stuck, but you're still here, which already tells me something about you. Now let's talk about what's really happening. Silent distance doesn't start overnight. It's not one fight, it's not one moment. It's 100 tiny moments that pile up like snow on a roof until one day the whole thing collapses and you look around wondering how you got here. It starts with small things, a conversation you didn't have, a feeling you swallowed instead of shared, a moment where you needed them and they weren't quite there and you told yourself it was fine, it's fine. But it wasn't fine. And so the gap got a little wider and you both got a little more careful, a little more guarded. You stopped reaching out as freely because somewhere deep down you started expecting to be met with nothing. And when you expect nothing, you eventually stop asking. That's how silence becomes the language of the relationship. Not through hatred, through self-protection. And here's the part that really gets people. You still love this person. That's what makes it so painful. If you didn't care, it wouldn't hurt this much. The grief of a relationship that's still technically there but emotionally hollow is one of the most unique and brutal forms of loneliness a human being can experience. You can be standing right next to someone and feel completely alone. Research in relational psychology consistently shows that emotional disconnection in long-term relationships is ranked by participants as more painful than physical separation. Let that sink in. Being near someone and feeling invisible to them hurts more than being apart. And yet people walk around carrying this for years, sometimes decades, telling themselves this is just how things are now. This is just what happens over time. Relationships just fade. People grow apart. No, that's not the truth. That's a story people tell themselves to avoid the terrifying vulnerability of trying. Because trying means risking. Trying means saying, I want more than this silence, and then having to wait and see if the other person feels the same. And that is genuinely one of the most frightening things a human being can do. So let me ask you something honest. How long have you been carrying this? Not days, not weeks. I mean really carrying it. That low hum of disconnection, that quiet ache that lives somewhere behind your ribs. How many mornings have you woken up and thought, something needs to change, but then the day started and you pushed it down again because you didn't know where to begin? Studies on relationship repair show that on average people wait 4 to 7 years before taking meaningful action on a deteriorating relationship. That's holidays. That's thousands of ordinary Tuesday evenings that could have felt warm and connected instead of distant and hollow. Every single day inside that silence is a cost. Not just emotionally, the stress of unresolved relational pain has been directly linked to disrupted sleep, lowered immune function, reduced productivity, and even increased rates of anxiety and depression. You are paying for this silence with your health, your energy, your focus, the quality of every single day you live inside that disconnection. And the person on the other side? They're paying too, even if they don't show it, even if they seem fine, even if they've gotten so good at the silence that they almost look comfortable in it. Inside every human being is a core desire to be truly known and truly loved by another person. When that's missing, something dims. In both of you. Now here's where I want to be very direct with you, because this is the part most people get completely wrong. Rebuilding trust after years of silence is not about having the big conversation. It's not about sitting down and finally saying everything you felt and hoping it all pours out perfectly. In fact, therapists and relationship researchers who have spent decades studying repair processes consistently find that couples and families who try to solve years of distance in a single emotional confrontation almost always make things worse. The pressure is too high. The defenses go up. Words get said that can't be unsaid. Real trust is rebuilt in small, consistent, deliberate moments. It's rebuilt in the gap between stimulus and response. It's rebuilt when someone reaches for connection and you actually reach back instead of pulling away. It's rebuilt over time through a series of small, low-risk moments that slowly teach both people that it's safe to be real again. Think about the last time someone made you feel genuinely seen. Maybe it was a long time ago. Maybe it was a moment so small you almost missed it. But something in you relaxed. Some held breath finally let go. That feeling, that release of being truly met by another person, that is what is possible on the other side of this silence. And it doesn't start with some grand romantic gesture. It doesn't start with a perfectly crafted apology. It starts with something so simple most people overlook it entirely. It starts with presence. Not the physical presence of being in the same room. Real presence. The kind where you put down the phone, where you turn your whole body towards someone, where you actually listen, not to respond but to understand. Psychological research on attachment repair consistently identifies felt presence as the single most powerful catalyst for relational healing. When someone feels genuinely seen and heard even once, the entire emotional temperature of the relationship shifts. But here's the catch. You have to be willing to go first. And going first when you've been hurt, when you felt invisible, when you've spent years not being truly met, going first feels deeply unfair. It feels like giving when you have nothing left, and I want to honor that. That feeling is real and it is valid. And also, someone has to move first, because the silence doesn't break itself. And the person who decides to break it, the person who chooses courage over comfort, that is the person who changes everything. Now let's talk about the actual process. Because rebuilding trust has distinct stages, and if you skip one, you'll keep cycling back to the same place. The first stage is recognition. Both people need to acknowledge that the distance is real. Not assign blame, not explain how it got there, just look at it honestly and say, yes, there is space between us that shouldn't be there. The second stage is safety. This is where most people rush. You cannot rebuild emotional intimacy without first creating emotional safety. That means consistent behavior over time. It means doing what you say you'll do. Showing up the way you say you'll show up. It means being predictable in the best possible way, so that the other person's nervous system slowly learns they don't have to brace for impact anymore. The third stage is vulnerability, and this is where the real healing happens. This is where you stop performing okay, and you start sharing true. This is where you say the things that feel dangerous to say. Not in one massive confession, but in small, brave moments that invite the other person to do the same. And the fourth stage is integration. This is where the new way of being together becomes the normal. This is where you stop thinking of your relationship as something you're repairing and start experiencing it as something you're choosing. Every single day. This process is not fast. Anyone who tells you it is not being honest with you. Real relational repair, the kind that actually lasts, typically takes consistent effort over months. But here's what the data actually shows. Couples and families who engage in structured, intentional repair work report measurable improvements in connection and trust within the first 30 days. Not perfection, not complete healing, but a noticeable, tangible, felt shift in the relationship. 30 days of consistent, deliberate effort can begin to thaw years of silence. Days. Compare that to 4 to 7 years of continuing to wait. The cost of inaction is not neutral. Every day you stay in the silence is a choice. And I know that feels harsh, but it's also the most freeing truth you can hold. Because if staying in the silence is a choice, then so is breaking it. And that means you have more power here than you've been telling yourself. And if you've been watching this, and something in you is quietly waking up, if there's a part of you that is tired of the weight of this and ready to actually do something, that program linked below in the description, it exists precisely for this moment. Not for people who are fine, for people who are ready to stop being fine and start being real. Most people will scroll past it, most people will keep waiting. But a very small number of people will recognize that waiting is the most expensive thing they've ever done, and they'll choose differently. The relationship you're grieving is not gone. The connection you remember, the warmth, the ease, the feeling of being truly home with another person, that is not buried, it is waiting. And the path back to it is real and it is walkable and thousands of people have walked it. But nobody does it by accident. Nobody stumbles into repair. You have to decide, you have to choose, and then you have to act. The window for that decision is always smaller than we think, because while you're deciding, life is continuing. Another day passes inside the silence, another ordinary evening that could have been something else. What if 30 days from now things felt different? Not perfect, but softer, more open. What if you could look at that person and actually feel something between you again instead of just distance? That is not a fantasy. That is what happens when people stop waiting and start walking toward each other. The program in the description below is your next step. Not someday, not when things get worse. Now. Because the people who transform their relationships don't wait for the perfect moment. They create it, right here, right now. Go take a look.